Yeah, okay. So today we'll see transport management. Okay. So there are different types of transports, like generally two types, majorly customized, like customizing and workbench. So I'll show in the system what are these. So that there are four different T codes for using these transports. We'll see all of them. SC01, then SC09, 3 is also there. SC03, SC09, and SC10. So all these are related to transport management. Okay. So why these transports are required is to move the changes from one system to other system. So I'll just show. First we'll see what are the T codes available. SC01 is there. This is transport organizer. Then SC03. These are all organizer tools. So different tools we have related to this transport management. Then SC09 SC09 and transport organizer only. So these are different tools with T codes with different functionalities. But SC09 and SC10 are almost similar. If you see, even the screen looks the same. So that like some modifications they have done, and they have just made it another transport. Okay. So now let's see one by one. Okay, so here it will just display. This is an organizer, it will just display. So the difference between 9 and 1 is the way it has other options like display separately. If you have separate task, you can display it. This one will same we can have in the other way as well. So if you can click F4 on this, you can just search based on the user on what user the transports are created. Just let me accept. So what will happen is like so yes, so this one what types are there, we'll just see. There are if you just let me time in a C9. Okay, first of all, to create a transport, this is the way. Generally what will happen is two three ways the transport will be created, either by the basis team. There is something called Solomon system, so they'll have TR integrations there also. So to have a proper track, Solomon team or basis team will create it, and it will be ready made. Then otherwise, maybe if you say it's a big ABAP team, then what people will do, either the senior manager or my delivery manager will create it, or my team lead, whoever will create it and keep it ready. Like see this model, this is the transport, like that they'll keep it ready. Okay, so if you try to create, you'll have these many options in transport. Customizing means yesterday we were discussing the customizing, right? SPRO. Generally, customizing things will have all my table entries, configurations, all those things will be in my customizing request. Workbench request is you may objects, whatever objects you create, maybe database or anything, objects what we create like in the system. So table entries, customizing will go to my customizing transport. The others will come to my workbench transport. There is something called transport of copies. This is a bit advanced topic. So what is a transport of copies? For example, I have a transport in my development. Okay, so I don't the scenario is like it is just for testing purpose. I want to move it to my quality. If I release the transport completely, what will happen is this will again, if you want to make change in that particular object, it will go for a new transport. So to avoid this kind of like multiple transports on the same object, there is a concept called transport of copies. So what this will do, it is just a temporary transport. This is just like a temporary transport where you can add objects. Suppose I have some 10 TRs I have. So my 10 TRs, each TR is having around 5 objects, around 50 objects are there totally. So I want to move only 10 objects out of those. So what I can do is I can create a transport of copy, add those objects in my transport of copy and move it across. So this reallocation of objects is completely from basis team. So what ABAPer will generally do is create maximum of these three only: customizing, workbench, and transport of copies. Now this is on transport management. So I'll just click on display. See, now in request status we have two, modifiable and released. So modifiable in the sense, in the transport still the changes are can be possible, that is the modifiable. Once they are released, it will go to the status released. Then if you can see now, nothing is there actually, so it will not show. So in the modifiable part, if I go here, now we'll see what are the options available. So if this is my transport, if you navigate, this is the main transport, this is called subtask. Okay, this subtask will be of three different types. One is development or correction. Let me show that. If I go to change more request, okay, change type. Okay, so you have three types. One is unclassified, one is development correction, and one is repair. When you create a task, by default it will go to unclassified. Okay, so when you want to give, like if you are doing some changes or any change in the system, it will go for development correction. This is for a custom code or your code which you are created, everything will be in development correction. If there is any correction to the SAP standard code, then it will go for repair. So actually we discussed, right, there are two things, SAP standard code, SAP, custom code. So when custom code is happening, generally it will go for repair and correction, and when there is a change in my standard code, that will go for repair, sorry, development correction and repair. So these are the types of transports. Now what else, what all you can do with the transport? Now I have already created it. When you are creating an object, it will by default ask for a transport, which transport you want to put this object into, or you should go to a temporary, that local, as we showed it. Let me show it again. So yesterday I created Z demo. Let me try one. So what will happen is, test I'll give, just try. Just see if ask for a package, then it will ask for a, here we have an option to put it as a local object. I'll put it as a demo app. So immediately it should ask for a transport. So it's asked for a transport. So now here, if you don't want to put it in any existing transport, you can go and create a new transport. By default, it will pick the first transport which is there on your name. Otherwise, you can go to own request, means it will show all the transports on your name, and you can select whichever transport you have. So if this is on some other's name, you can also rename it. So if this is a change owner, we'll see that options as well. Okay, so here it will ask for. So now I'm canceling it, and we'll go back to the transport system screen. So now in my transport, I can add tasks. So if we create request, it will directly create a request in this. Okay, so this one we saw yesterday, how to add a project here. What is the target? Target means to what all systems you will have to use it. So you can assign it to multiple users as well. You can either remove it or add new users. Okay, then this is transport display. This is add user. That's what I was telling. If you want to add another user, it will create a task with another user. Let me try showing it. So user 200, I want a task. So it will just add it. See, by default a task is created. It will be in unclassified. Based on what change you do, it will be either going to development or correction or repair one. This is the option. So now I want to change the, there is option we can change the owner. Now it is user 200. I'll try to change it to user. So it will, by default it will come to your system user. You can change it. So it will change it to my user. So this is one option we have in transports. Now this is for deletion. I'll currently don't do that. Include objects. So if I want to add objects into that, so I'll see if I double click on that, how it will look. It will show what are all objects it is available in my system. So sorry, in my transport. So it should be locked actually. So if my object is locked in one transport, it will not allow to add it in another transport. Suppose in case by mistake you feel that yes, I have added in a wrong transport, you should go and delete this first. Select it. You have an option to delete it, and then or you can unlock it, because I have unlocked objects. Lock. You have lock and unlock. Then what we can do is you can just delete it and create it in other transport as well. Now if you want to add objects to that, this is the option. If you just click on modify request, I think person modify, sorry. So if you click on this, you will get an option to add objects from a different transport. From different transport you want to give, here you can give search, and you can just see the nomenclature of my transport. The first four characters is common across all the systems. It will be my first three letters would be my system ID. Then K stands for kernel. So kernel means see on below the SAP presentation server there is a system. The layer called kernel layer, which is handled by the basis team. So what is a kernel layer is all the SAP code, whatever it is there in SAP system, will be stored in .k format in my kernel level. So that is the actual database store. So that is why it has come as K. Then it will be a number, like some 6-digit number will be there. So that is a standard format everywhere. Then you can add a list from my existing request or multiple requests. So it will give like I can choose what all transports I need to add. Then freely selected objects means you can just keep on adding the objects. Like suppose you have a report, you don't want to include all the objects from another transport, only one or two objects you want to add, so you can add this way. This non-abap object, generally it's not a used case scenario, but it's an option. Like there are some systems with Java stacks. So what will have Java or UI5 HTML code, something you want to add, you can add it in this. Transportable classification of objects and request means what it will happen is, so if you have different objects, you want to classify the groups. So for that purpose, you can use this. Then, so the actual thing is, so you want to release this transport. I'll talk about this check actually. Check syntax it will be there even in my code level. So let me talk about this release directly. So in some systems, when you click on release, the checks will be performed automatically and then the release will happen. Otherwise, it will be released directly. Then the other option we have is to transport logs. See, there are some 3 or 4 what to say system responses. Okay, there is a structure called SYST, which has all the system fields. Okay, the main the most very frequently used is called size subarc. That means once a command is executed, it will give a return value. Generally, it will be 0, 4, 8, 12 like this. So 0 means it is a successful one. 4 it has an, sorry, 12 actually not. 8 is something like it has error, and 12 it is like aborted. So what these based on this return codes, we have to understand like whether it's a success or error. So what will happen is, here in my transport log, if I release it, it will show whether generate will not have now because we haven't released it. So after, if you just click on log, it will say these are what are all the objects included. Then everything is success or failure, or any error messages are there. It will give an explanation why this has come to an error. So you can rectify that based on your analysis. Now coming to the check. So check has some 3-4 checks available. So let me show what are all those. If you come to my request task, complete check is there. In this we have 3. One is object level check, then consistency check, and display inactive object. So in transport by mistake, if you have not activated any object, that will not be transported. So it will throw error saying you have some inactive objects in your transport. Syntax check is what it's a common one. We can do it at 3 levels. One is my program level, second one is on my package level, and third one is on my objects level. I mean from the transport. So what are the differences is, suppose I have a program ABC which is stored in a package Z1 that is there in transport some ABC. Okay, so now what will happen, on my program level it will check only my program. On my package level, as it describes, all objects in the package will be checked for it. Now, if on the transport level, if I do it, it will only check for the objects which are available in my transport. Request consistency is like if you just check for my suppose multiple tasks are there, it will just see if any other interdependent objects are missing, kind of thing. There are two important tables for transports. 16, I'll tell you what are those. E070. This is one table. So this is the header of my transports. So with this, what they will do is they'll check the dependencies, whether the objects are there in some other transports or not. That they will check. So these two tables are E070 and E071. So the first one is like a header table. The second one is a item table, means in that particular transport, what are all objects are there, it will handle. The entries will be there. So this is about my SC01, 9 and 10. Now I'll show you how this 3 looks like. So this is my organizer tool. Here you can just like complete operations related to my transports you can do. Whatever you had an individual objects there, like I include objects, check everything. It will be like my bulk. Suppose I want to add some 20-30 objects or find objects, all those things will be available here. This is purely on used case actually. So if you want to find, request, merge objects, unlock objects, so whatever there individually there, it is a common dashboard where all the operations you can do it. Fine. So that is about transport management. Okay. Now we will get into the actual coding part. So what all things you have in coding? Okay. So now we'll see. First, let me explain you like what is the purpose of coding in your SAP system. Now, basic thing is reporting. This is a very basic thing. So what are these reports are like on used case scenarios. I am in a business called maybe manufacturing business. So right from, see, there are different modules in my SAP. Okay, for example, I'll consider HR module, purchasing and sales. These 3 modules I'm considering now. Now what will happen is this reporting is useful for every manager first of all. Like suppose for example, if he is a HR manager, he can see how many employees are there, what is their attendance records, everything they can see. So every data is stored in some or the other table, that is for sure. So data is again categorized into 2 parts, which I said earlier, master data and transaction data. And the other way we can say is in the transaction data or the other what the 2 categories are sorry, header data and item data. So this one we'll see maybe in some sales order or purchase order. We'll get into that after maybe having a look at the basic programming. So all these reportings, whatever they do, will come to reports. It will be either a standard report or a custom report. If SAP standard is providing the requirement, like suppose they want to see employee attendance report in HR. So if SAP standard is having that particular report, fine. If it is not having, they will either do 2 things. They will create a complete custom report, or they will copy the standard report and add the custom logic. These are the 2 ways they can do. Now coming to sales or purchasing, sales means it will have some sales orders, purchasing orders. So they want to see how many bookings have happened. So sales and purchase has a different cycle. Sales cycle is it starts from an inquiry till invoicing. Purchasing also has some cycle. So that is a completely functional knowledge. But still people expect you to know the basic understanding of any functional process, at least these 2, sales and distribution, material management. So there, different reports could be there by standard. If it come on sales, how many inquiries have come, how many sales orders I have received, how many purchase orders I have received. Everything is basic reporting. So we have these reports. Okay, and the transaction code for this reports is, as I said earlier, it's SC38. SC38 reports. Okay, what types of programs are there? We will discuss in detail when we discuss the reports. Then there are something called function modules. So function modules will come into picture where you have a requirement where you want to push some data like the CPU. You want to give some data as input, process that input and take out the output. So now there will be a question. Then we'll compare. Then classes. Okay, this is the OABAP part, object oriented ABAP. It is basically a basic, a light or advanced version of basic ABAP. So what this function module does, it will take some input, manipulate and give an output in a different way. So on top of this function modules, there are something called RFCs, which is the remote function calls. There are some 4 or 5 types of this. We'll discuss in detail. Then comes my BAPIs. This is business APIs. Then what are there? My BAPIs, baddies. Okay, those baddies and all are just enhancements that will come in the enhancement framework. There is something called module pool programming. Module pool. Module pool is nothing but what all our screens you see on SAP's module pool. You take any screen, SC11. This will have a program name and a screen number behind that. Okay. So for any screen you are sitting here, if you want to know what is a program and what is a screen number, you go to system, status. It's loading, just give me a second. So it will come, if you come to SAP data, it will say what is the transaction, what is the program screen, okay, then what is the screen number. So sometimes what will happen is 1000 will be a default number for my selection screen. In reports there is something called selection screens. The default number is 1000. So that we'll see in the programs. Okay. So this is how you can find a program and on screen behind whatever transaction you use. Every screen in SAP is a module pool that we'll discuss. Okay. So these most probably I have covered all this. Okay. So let me go into the T codes for each of these. SC38 is reports. SC37 is for my function modules. Function modules will be part of function groups. Okay, this also we'll discuss when we discuss function modules. Okay, RFCs are nothing but an advanced like remote function calls, means from other systems you can call this code. Simple. So there is a program ABC in my system. The same program can be called with from other system. There is something linkage between like, okay, there are some certain connections, all those should be available. So if those are available, my program can be called. That syntaxes we will see as part of RFCs. Now coming to BAPIs and RFCs are similar. They are built on top of function modules. For my module pool program, it is SC51. Module pool programs. Okay. Then for my classes, it is SC24. So this is for my global classes. We have two different things, global classes and local classes. We'll discuss all those in the future. So for this is for my objects. So the basic navigation is like this, the basic transactions. I think I have covered. If something else comes up, we'll just add it upon. Now going back to my SC38. So this is for reports. So all kinds of reports, you will do it here only. So what are the different things available in SC38? Tomorrow we'll try to cover debugging, because any code in SAP, if you want to analyze, is in two ways. Just by reading the code, but that is a difficult way of analyzing. There is something called debugging. Okay, debugging means this debugging is common across any coding language. So what it does is it will just show the code at a runtime. So that is called debugging. That comes under troubleshooting. We will discuss that as well. Okay. Now I'll create a report gdemo app report. So see, in any object you will have an FOL. Okay. So if you want to find any existing in existing program, you can just go. So these are all programs available. Okay. We'll just these are the programs. Now on navigation, we'll see what are the options available. So this is check activate, which is there inside my program. Then execution is common. Very if you want to execute the program, that will. Then where use list. I showed it in tables, right? So where and all that table is being used, you want to see. And same way, where and all this program is being used, you can see that. Then my environment analysis. So this will give me how this program will behave on my this particular environment. Then this is information delete copy. Mean from one program you want to copy another program. This is what I was telling. Like if you want to copy a custom program from a standard, you just go there, copy, rename it, and put your own logic. Then rename the program. The existing program you want to rename it does it. In debugging, this is what I was telling. So if you want to run the code in debug mode, you have to put this option. Run with variants. Okay. Now what is a variant? I have suppose for example this variant comes into picture only if you have a selection screens. Many see what is a selection screen again is selection screen something looks like this. So we are selecting the data. That is a selection. All these are part of selection screens, but this is for a table. This is also actually a program with my select options. Let me show that program. So this is this program and my screen number is 1000 because it has select options. See, this is a select options. Let me show the program. So this is the program. Okay, so it's all declared. This is a standard program, so you will see it lot of clumsy, lot of code would be there. So this is the program behind my SC16 transaction. See, you see the select options. Okay, so these select options are the things which are available on my screen. So the syntaxes, all those we'll see in program, no issues. So if there are two, it is called select options. If there is only one input available, it is a parameter. Okay, so we'll see these two in the coding. Now going back to my SC38 screen, if I want to create, let's start from the beginning. SG demo report. Okay, I'll create it. So this title will come on my output screen. So if I give demo program, that will be coming on my output. What type of program you want to give it? So we have around two. These are the multiple things available. So coming from top, the most used is executable program because you want to execute it. There are other things called include, module pool, function group, subroutine pool. Till this point, it is a very commonly used. But this interface, class, and type XSLT, these are very rarely used. Actually, XSLT is like there is some other concept for this. So for that, it is used. This executable program you will create it by default. And include programs is like you have certain program called ABC. So you have to include that. That is a generic English word include. Now we'll see each program we'll see. Now module pool, when you create through SC51, that kind of program will come and sit here. Function group, this is on top of a function module. So whatever function modules you create, on top of that there will be a function group and that is a program. We'll note it down and we'll try to see all those. So my programs or reports are of four types. One is executable. I'll show you all these programs once. Include, then function groups, module pool. So that is my type. And status is like, yeah, what kind of program it is, like SAP standard customer production system program. This is a use case scenario, and what scenario, and I mean, what is the status of this program, like whether you are creating it on a customer system or SAP standard system. So that is dependent. Application is like, yeah, for which business you are creating. So all I was telling, like you will have HR planning, sales, warehouse management. This is a grouping actually. It is not much that significant. It is just for grouping of what kind of program is this. Authorization group, same. Who are all authorized to this? Then coming to this editor lock, if I put editor lock, only you can edit the program. No one else can edit. See, whatever program is created, it is actually editable by everyone in the system. Now, if I put editor lock, only my user can come and edit this. So now I'll put it as executable program. Okay. Mm. Then if you are previously I was telling something called logical databases. That is a different concept actually. Get set parameters. Someone has joined. Is it okay? So that is a logical database if you want to use it. Selection screen. So there are okay. So if this logical database is given, that is has an inbuilt selection screens, and you can just use that. So these are the things available. So let me create it. So same way it will ask for my transport. This time I'll put it into a transport. So in every program we follow the technique called modularization. So that is nothing but just grouping the code. That's it, nothing else. So you make the look and feel as much easy as possible. So that is a standard way of, that is an approach actually, not a rule. So I showed the code for SA16 backend, so it was looking very clumsy. So it is very difficult for us to read and understand. So what generally we do is we'll put it as a normal modularization technique, so that it will be easy for reading out and execution as well. So this is a first screen of my SE38. So generally what we'll have is, this is a commenting area. So if you are creating a program, each project will follow a certain template, like who has created it, what is the transport, what is the purpose of creating this report. They'll put it in the description. So every report starts with this statement, which is a mandatory one. Now, what are the all the similar objects will be available? I mean, the options in every program. So you will see a new one here. It's an enhance. Means, see, as this is a Z program, this does not have any significance here. If it is a standard program and there are options to enhance it, if you click on this, we can enhance the standard code wherever the options are available. We will cover that as part of my enhancement framework. So which is specific to the programs, there is something called Pretty Printer. Okay, if you click that, what will happen is the code beautification will happen. This is a setting actually. Utilities settings. If you go, this is called Pretty Printer. Okay, so now we'll have some options called indent and convert upper lowercase. So generally, the standard approach what SAP recommends is keyword uppercase. This is completely user-based settings. It depends on individual user. So in this settings we have so many things. We will see one by one. Editor, this is user level. See how you want to see the screen. Pretty Printer, the settings, split screen. So when you have different multiple windows, how you want that to look at. Debugging, yeah, this is the one I was telling. We'll see as part of my troubleshooting. So all of the settings you can just go through, because this is specific to your user. So how the screen should look for you is what you will put it here. Then pattern. So what is this pattern? See, generally you want to use other code here, like some standard methods or standard classes, function modules, or everything you can use it here. This is like a simple way of creating code. So write, case status, so many options are there. Based on your usage, you can do it. There is something called messages. We will just see that as well. So for statements, this is a one section. Then for structured data object, you can say, see, okay, call, dialog. This you will go through. I mean, you will get used to it as far as you use it. Performance, there is something called, I was telling, right, a modularization one. So perform and form, they are linked actually. Authority check, this is for authorization. This is like there is something called authorization objects. So what you will do is before running, so there are certain requirements like when the report is running, you should check for the particular authorization, then you will use this. So one by one, we will just keep on using it so that you will get used to it. Okay. Now we will take a simple report. Now I'll take an example and we'll see so that it will be easy for you to understand. I'll go to the table Mara itself. Okay. So this is a basic example where we'll use it so that it will be easy for understanding. Going forward, we can just take some complex examples and we can start working on it. Okay. So my program generally has three things. So this is with selection screen we'll try. Okay. So first one is data selection. See, it's like a normal CPU. You give an input, process it, output. So data selection, generally it will be my selection screen, which has my select options and parameters. Okay, then my data processing. So we'll select the data, put in manipulation. You want to do some calculations, you can do. And last thing is my data output. So previously that it was like screens. I mean normal write statements they used to do, but now a bit advanced concept like normal ALV report. There is something called ALV. It's called ABAP list viewer. So these are the three basic things a report will contain. So now if you come back to the report, first there is something called data declaration. So here you can use an existing data object, or you can just declare your own types. So this one I was telling you, types, groups, table types, all this. So that is again, there is no predefined approach. So once you get a requirement like, see, you will have to do this report, you will generally what will happen, someone will explain you saying what that program should do, what that report should do. Then you can start writing the logic. Like first thing is what all fields you will require. Then the second thing is what all tables you will be requiring, like from which table what data should I select, all this you should gather. Then in output screen, what are the fields you have to show? These three things are the basic inputs you will require. Without these inputs, you cannot write a report. So when it comes to my functional and technical discussion, in any company, there is a very common scenario like either the functional will say technical doesn't know, or technical will say functional will did not give my proper input. So we'll have that struggle everywhere. So basically what you should know is what are the base tables for each process. Suppose if I say material management, there are some base tables like Mara is my basic material master, then MARD, MARC. I'll just show those. So those basic tables you should be knowing. Otherwise, it will be a bit difficult to understand. We'll have that list, okay? So that is part of my data declaration. Then comes my data execution, okay? So this ABAP and reports are event based, okay? Everything is event based. So there are certain events which will trigger based on the program usage, okay? There are some 13 or 14 events. So the first set of events are on initialization. means when the program is created, at that time it will start. So this is one keyword, initialization. So if I start putting in the code in it, see it will prompt. Okay, if I start giving, it will just prompt. You can just click tab initialization, click just tab and give it. Okay, then start of selection. See start. If I give start, it will say it will give prompt. So start of selection. Then something there is called end of selection. Like this, there are events. So what will happen is like start of selection, end of selection. Then in between this, you will have say something called load of program. Load of program. Okay, so these are events. One by one you can just understand when they'll get called. Simple. So you can debug once and understand that when we go through the debugging. Tomorrow we'll discuss completely about debugging, because that is very important for troubleshooting anything. 50% of Abapus life will go on debugging only. So these are my things. Then we have certain keywords for select options, like at selection screen. See, at selection screen, then something we have at selection screen output. It should have. So these things we'll discuss one by one. Okay, so this is something called events. So on these events, you'll have to understand what code you have to put where. So based on that, it will control the flow of my program. Now in this, what you can do is modularization I was telling about, right? So I'll clear my. I'll just keep it aside. So there is something called perform. So this will create my modularization called forms. So I say maybe init. So here we have some import parameters and export parameters, like using, changing, all those. Using, maybe I'll say LV Matner. Okay. We also have using means in that perform, it only uses this value, you cannot change it. So you need to decide like whether the parameter is using or changing. Now I'll say you LV description. This is for just an example. Okay. So now we'll see how it will behave. So before that, we have to make sure these parameters are declared. Okay. But what is data declaration is? Data. See, data, if you give direct name, Matner, type. Here you what all you can give is your data element or table field name. Both will work. So now what I'll do is I'll just comment all this. I'll try to check this whether it is accepting. So syntactically correct. So if I click on activate, this should come up. This should work. Okay. Now I'll try to create a perform. See, perform and form is something for completely only for modularization. Nothing else. So if I click how to create is just double click. So it will say it does not exist. You want to create. Yes. So now I was telling about the include programs. So this is a standard naming convention saying if it is for forms, it will come as your complete program name. Okay. Then your form name underscore unit. This is for my first one. This is a default name actually. It is not a mandatory name. And forms 01. Why it is taking init is you have given the form name here. So it will say, boss, I want to create. You want to create it in a separate include, or you want to put it in the main program. See, this is my main program. So we'll see what is the difference between this. Okay, I'll give a main program itself. So it will create that form at the bottom of my main program. So if I have some 60, 70 form, the program readability will go for a toss. So now what I'll do is I'll create a separate include. See, it has given using and changing parameters. So it will add a p underscore parameter. This is default system. You can always rename it. There is no harm in that. Now I'll delete this and I'll try to create it again with the include. We'll see how it behaves. I'll save it. Now I'll double click again. It says no, does not exist. I'll create. Now I'll try for a new include. I'll remove this init. So that it will stay generic. For all my forms, I can use this. Okay. It's a new include. I'll create. Okay. It does not, it's not having, so it will insert new statement. Okay, fine. Because that is a new program, it will again ask for a transport. See, anything you created newly, it will ask for a transport. See, now there is a new include created with this form. So that is why now the readability is good. Now you can check activate as my other program itself. So let me activate it. Okay, it says errors. Fine, because nothing is there. So, okay, so it will try giving all. So if I give my data as colon, it will accept multiple values. Simple. So now I'll try to declare. It says, but your description is not declared. So I'll declare type MAKT. Okay, so this is already declared. Now I'll see whether it is accepting or not. In it, I'll check it. Syntactically correct. I'll try to activate both now. We'll see what will happen. So the expectation is a new include should be there in my main program. There is something called object type, so that we will understand going forward. Like REPS means reports, TABR, TABL. You will slowly understand. Nothing to worry about it. Now, if you see, there is an include which is there. So you should put this include on top, so that immediately it will be coming up. So this actually takes the cursor position. So that's why it has come on this. So what generally we do is we put all the data declarations in one program. Okay. For modularization purpose only. See, because this is a very pale example, only two declarations are there. Otherwise, there will be 100, 150 based on your requirement. It is completely. What we can do is you can just declare another program called top. So this is called top include, which will have all my declarations. It says no, I'll create it, save this program. So it's a top include. I'll just give that it's an include program by default because you are given through my include statement. I'll just save it. Just it asks for a package and transport. So whatever data declarations you give there, you just put it here. At the end we can do it. Okay, because we haven't activated it. We'll just activate it. Still not accepted. Okay, let me comment it out. Because nothing is there, it is just trying to stop. Okay, it is something else then. Okay, sorry. Okay, fine. So this is the modularization part. So forms and performs. Sometimes what will happen is like you will have to call some function modules. This one will just see to understand how we call this pattern. In this call function, you can just try to see if you know the function module directly. Okay, you can give the name, or otherwise you can just search for it. Now I'll try to call one function module which is already existing. See, this one I'm just doing it randomly. I'm not taking any logic and doing it. So tomorrow we'll just take, after debugging, we'll take some logic and use it. This is just for understanding purpose. So if I give call function and click OK, So it will give that syntax, whatever it is. So this will come from my import and export parameter. So whatever is there in my function module, it will give there. So it says export means we are exporting the value from this program to this function module. So here it will be importing input. So we are exporting this, exporting from program. Then now the exporting means this is exporting from the function module. So it will be in the exporting parameter, and for program it is importing the value. So it will come as import. So similarly, whatever is there, like if something else is there, like changing tables, exceptions, everything will be coming as a proper. This is the simplest function module, so it has very less things. The more and more you see, so for example, I say uh, which one shall I take? BAP, I'll take. So any function models you can call sales or material. So this I'm taking just to show how this function model and import export call. So I'll take create material. Okay. You see we'll see how many are there here. See, there are some 2 import parameters and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 exporting parameters. So there should be totally 7. So for that program, if it is importing here, that will be exporting in my other program. So in my other program, it will be 2 exporting values and 5 importing values. I'll just delete this and I'll show it again. So same, see, 2 exporting, another importing. See why these are getting commented is, these are all optional. So when giving the parameters, import, if you see, we have 2 checkbox. That is part of function models. We'll discuss that. If that is if the checkbox is not there, that is mandatory. So you have to pass it. That's why it's enabled. Others are just optional. So that will come as commented by default. Sorry, export. Yeah, these are all long materials. This is completely on function models. We'll discuss, no issues. So those are all optional. So this is how we'll call a function module. So similarly, you have all the above object patterns, everything you can just call based on your requirement. So let me try showing one. So different keywords are there. Call function, call method is for my above object patterns. So if I say, it will say, okay, let me see if any Z classes are there. So this is again oops concept. So create object, call method, raise and raise exceptions, all are oops concepts. So this is just for understanding purpose. I'm just showing it. I think so many are there. Let me see. Okay, so for example, I'll just take this one, max value for BP class, and here it will show what are the methods the class is having. Okay, it has only one method. Is it? That's why it has taken by default. So I'll see if any other class is there which has multiple values. Maybe Z, CR, first one I'll see. Then yeah, there's three. If there are multiple methods, we will have a choice. Like okay, I want to see stock for plants. Then if I click OK, same, it will come. Okay, this is in between. You should make sure the cursor is proper. That is the issue. I'll remove all this. Let it be here. Okay. So if it is commented out, it means it's an optional. So that is the reason. So it will come like this. Okay, call method, it will be this. So this is how you can call an ABAP object also. Then what else is required is okay, we'll start with this tomorrow. So we'll start with an example. There is something, there is a concept called internal tables. uh, then comes my work areas and field symbols. We'll see how these three are relevant. Internal tables. Okay, so what are internal tables? See, this is a temporary table this is a temporary table in my runtime where this will store some data. So this data will be stored only on my runtime. So until my program is executed, either before the program is executed or after my program is executed, it will not have any data. And the memory allocation to this is also at runtime only. So when the program is running, this internal table will be active. Okay, otherwise it will not be active. So for this, we'll have some declaration procedure that we'll discuss. Then this is a table again. So now what will happen is you want to either, there are operations, CURD operations like create, update, delete, all these operations you can do, read, everything you can do. Like same way you can how you do a database, you can write, read, select, everything you can do, delete, all these operations. So, what is the purpose? Yes, this is for a temporary purpose. Only when you are executing a program, you want some temporary storage to do it. You can take it up. We will discuss with an example tomorrow. Then, this is a table. So you want some records to fetch out of it. Okay. Previously there was a call called work areas. Okay. Work areas are nothing but a one line out of this internal table. Okay, so one line of this internal table will be stored in this work area. The structure will be the same and it should be the same, otherwise it will go for a dump. The program itself will not get accepted, I mean cleared with the errors. Then newly there is a concept called field symbols. So what this field symbols will do is, this is similar to work area, but only the difference is work area in the memory level, there is a memory allocated and that will store the value. But field symbols, what it does is, it will point to my record. Suppose I have 10 records in my internal table. If I if I go to a work area, what will happen is that records value, suppose of 5 values are there in that particular record, those values are stored in my work area. Okay, so it's like the work area has a memory allocation. But in my field symbols, what will happen is there is a temporary holder which will point to my internal table. It's like I pulled out a record from my internal table, manipulating it and pushing it back. So the only advantage between on field symbols is you will not have any additional memory allocation on it. Okay, so that is the concept of internal tables. We'll see with an example tomorrow. Then comes my output. So generally, most of the reports have ALV output. So let me see, some report is there. Let's see, 38. See what is this actually? MTD1 display. Okay, they have taken VBLN. So this is something related to sales. So this display. What they are doing? They are just writing it. No ALV is used here. Let me see how it works. Okay, they have taken some random things. This is using write data. This is very old way of displaying the data. So now we have something called ALV. We'll see if I can show any output in ALV. Okay, let me see how many number of entries. 1000. So I'll take 100 entries and I'll just show how this ALV looks actually. Yeah, this is a ALV control. So ALV has some options like sorting, finding entries, filtering. This is why people will like ALV. So what these reporting teams will do, they will download, generally what they will do is they will download this into my Excel and they will start manipulating it there. So they want only the output here. So there are certain layouts like this is user dependent again. Layouts, I'll just see, choose layout. So there is no layout created. So I can suppose this is the order of the fields. I want it in some other order. What I can do is I will just create a layout, save layout. So I'll just create something and I'll save it. So I can either use it as user specific or default. So for only me, myself, I need it will be user specific. If everyone who comes to see this, that will be a default one. So this is how a basic ALV looks like. So these are the options available in ALV output. I think that should be fine. So reports, yes. So that's it for today. So tomorrow we'll take an example and we will see how we can create a report with a complete data dictionary, I mean data declaration with internal table example with and without work area, with work area as well as my field symbol I'll take, and that example will execute and show it tomorrow. So before that I'll even explain what is debugging and what is the advantages of that. Yeah, that's it for today team. Thank you.